we spend a lot of time talking about Hillary Clinton and pitting us back and forth. Let's be clear. We should be talking about Hillary Clinton on that last subject, because everywhere in the world that Hillary Clinton touched is more messed up today than before she and the president.
We have many questions.
So Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker from our Fox debate saying the focus should be on Hillary Clinton, especially in light of the email scandal that's only grown, with the latest headline that 125 emails contain redactions due to information now deemed classified. I spoke with Governor Walker just a bit earlier this morning. Governor, welcome back to America's Newsroom, and good morning to you.
Thanks for having me on. Glad to be with you.
I've got a lot to go through. First, Hillary Clinton, news of the day. The emails are out as of last night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Can you find a smoking gun in this batch of emails or not?
Well, it's not about emails. It's a scandal about national security. She put our national security at risk, not just the country as a whole. She put your security at risk. She put my security at risk. She put my children's security at risk by having this information available under an unsecure server. As I joked about at the debate, Bill, you remember this. I said it's likely the Chinese and Russian government know more about her email server than do the members of the United States Congress, and that's put our security at risk, and this is just more evidence of the such.
Also, you're hitting some of your rivals on Jeb Bush, too, on the topic of Iran. This is the spot you put out just yesterday. Watch here.
But you will rip up the agreement if there's one when you become president?
I'll certainly look at it. One thing that I won't do is to say, as a candidate, I'm going to tear up the agreement on the first day.
I refuse to live with a deal that threatens our safety and that of our closest allies.
Now, what Jeb Bush is saying is that as president, you need to be thoughtful and mature about this. Now, what's wrong with that?
Well, I think you need to be thoughtful and mature. That's why I'm ready to be president today. I've talked to the experts. I've looked at this. I share the same sentiment that people do all across America, including even some Democrats in Congress who know this is a bad deal. If you know it's a bad deal, why would you wait a month or 6 months or even a week or two? I'm going to terminate it on the very first day, reinstate those sanctions authorized by Congress, go to Congress to get even more crippling ones going forward, and start convincing our allies to do the same. We don't need another day to go by where Iran does not have these sanctions back in place.
And part of the reason this came up is because you said you'd rip up the deal on day one, and that's what started this back and forth. You were asked in the
That's exactly right. I said the day I announced that I would do this on day one, and Governor Bush claimed he would do something different, that he would wait. He claimed, as you mentioned, that this was not a mature approach out there. That's just a difference out there. That's not an attack. That's just a personal difference. If you want a president who's going to wait some time, even though they know something is wrong today, then he's probably your candidate. If you want someone who knows today it's a bad deal and is not going to wait until the folks in Washington tell you it's all right, who's going to do what's right immediately on the very first day in office, then I'm your candidate.
That's what leads us to the next topic. In the last 48 hours, you talked about building a wall, not on the southern border, but on the northern border with Canada. Then Bush's team said this in a campaign tweet from Mike Murphy, quoting now, "Jeb strongly opposes Iran deal. Walker distracted, focused on his plan to build wall with ... Canada, #not ready." It's that last comment about not ready where your rivals see a soft spot. Are they right?
No, I mean, this is just a joke in terms of how people react to things. I've said for some time we need to secure the southern border. I've talked about the infrastructure, the personnel, and the technology needed there. I've talked about enforcing the laws. People should go back and actually watch what I said on Sunday. I didn't say that at all. I talked about listening to people at some events that we had, some campaign events, one of which was someone who'd been involved, I believe, in the past in local law enforcement, and he raised a question about personnel from the federal government assisting people in those counties along the northern borders of the United States. He talked about personnel, and I said it's a legitimate issue to look to make sure there's enough staff working with those local law enforcement professionals. I've never talked about a wall at the north, and I'm certainly not now. Okay. That's just what happens when things get run amok.
The move from New Hampshire to Iowa. This was a state where you were leading as short as 6 weeks ago. And in a campaign like this, things can happen, and they can change quickly, too. This is what Monmouth put out now. They have you now at 7%, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in fifth place. Des Moines Register had you out over the weekend at 8%. Why are you losing ground, Governor, in a state where things look pretty good in July?
Well, I think in the end we're going to be in great shape. For me, the only poll that matters, and I said this months ago, even when polls showed something different, I said the only poll that matters is the one taken on Election Day. Remember the last time we had an open race for president at this point nationwide, Rudy Giuliani and Fred Thompson were ahead of John McCain and Mitt Romney. And on the Democrat side, Hillary Clinton was ahead of two guys I don't know if we've ever heard of, John Edwards and Barack Obama. So obviously a lot's going to change between now and then. And I think the more time I spend in Iowa, the more we get our message out, the better off we're going to be. And we've gone through 25 of the 99 counties.
And
once we get through the rest of those and get up to 99, I have every confidence our message is going to work, because people want someone who's been tested. They want someone in these tough times who's actually been tested. I've been tested like none other in this campaign, and I've got a plan to make this country great again.
So if you go back over the 2 election cycles, you see some people who are outsiders are viewed that way on behalf of the American voting public. And they did have an early lead. And now you're seeing a similar refrain with Donald Trump and Ben Carson and Carly Fiorina. Is it the outsider that wins now in 2016?
Oh, I think there is a real sentiment out there, and I think there's legitimacy to that. They want people who'll take on Washington, who'll shake things up. And I agree with that. Heck, I'm an outsider. I was one of the guys who took on the Washington-based power structure right here in the state of Wisconsin. They tried to come after me in the recall election. They failed. They tried to take me out again last year. Heck, 4 years ago, they tried to take me out in the protest. That didn't work in any of those times. We stood up against the big government union bosses, the big government special interests from Washington. We won those battles. If we could do that in a blue state like Wisconsin, there's no doubt we can do it for America.
All right, Governor, thank you for your time. We will speak again in Wisconsin today. Next stop for you is Texas on the campaign trail.
That's exactly
early
right.
primary
Out on the trail
state.
again.
You got it. Governor, thank you. Scott Walker in Madison.
Thank you, Bill.
The reason we mentioned Texas is because you're starting to see this shift. And it's not just Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina. It's the other states that will follow, because that schedule in March may in fact determine who is the nominee. So
people in Texas and Tennessee and Alabama.
Right.
So those are states to watch as well today.